Unveiling, revealing what's hidden in plain sight.
Hey everybody, man, that was a good stretch. Hey, speaking of stretch, we ain't been on here in quite some time. It was smooth, wasn't it? It's just come natural. But we're back. We got Gage here. I ain't got a camera today, it seems.
Yeah, using the phone.
Yeah. We do have a special guest with us today. She's not been with us for quite some time.
2 weeks.
Yeah, two weeks.
It ain't been that long
like
since we've done it.
forever.
Didn't y'all do it? Y'all didn't do it without me?
Not last week, but the week before we did.
Oh, okay. I thought y'all did it last week.
It was a on and off period.
Slackers.
Yeah. We do be letting that war, you know.
Did y'all even tell anybody that we were going to be on today?
TJ made it clear last week that we would be on this
I make it clear every
Okay.
week, but we don't always go.
Okay.
in a post.
Okay.
We got to do better. We need to post more.
Well, some people watch us later. They go back and watch. I know some people were asking where we've been, but there's so much been going on with the war, and if you get on Facebook or social media, which most people seem to do that pretty often, all you see, I don't know if your news feed has been nothing but people complaining about the gas.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So in honor of that, I wore my shirt today. This says, "This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine."
That's funny.
The gas tank.
That is a gas tank. That is funny.
Yeah.
It's perfect timing for that.
Yeah. And see, I bought this shirt before it even happened.
Wow.
It was prophetic.
But gas prices are insane right now.
It's the highest I've ever had to pay gas.
How much is it? How much was it today?
I passed the gas station and it was the one in Hayden right there is at $4.29 if you're paying with a card.
I think the one on 79s is the low. Like yesterday, I filled up, or Thursday, and it was $4.09.
Well, you drive
That was like
Thursday. Different places. What's the most it's been where you've went?
that one. That one across
Yeah,
the
the 430 is about the highest I've seen. Most of it's been around $3.99 or so. But I was telling somebody the other day that when I first started driving, over 10 years ago now, it was the highest I'd ever paid. It was high when I first started driving. It was like $3.89. I remember paying for that. And so when I paid and filled up the other day, it was right at $62 to fill my little car up. And when I know everybody's heard this story a million times, but just a couple years ago when Trump, was in office, it was like $25 to fill it up. So
God,
it's a
that's
huge
a big
difference.
difference.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference. I put $50 in mine, and mine's just a 5-seater SUV. It's not a big one, and it didn't even get it. It was like half a tank.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
Yeah, that's my car's. My car's $50, and it's a 12 gallon.
I know
10
one
gallon.
thing. I told my husband, I said, you know what? I said, if this continues on, it'll be a good time to buy trucks cheap.
Yeah.
Because people are going to be selling their trucks, and
Yeah.
ain't nobody going to be wanting to buy them.
That's
So
true.
supply and demand will be low.
And that's not even, we talking about gas, not even talking about diesel. Diesel's already at $5 a gallon.
Oh,
or
I
more.
know. I know.
Don't you drive a diesel?
Yeah, he has one decent.
Yeah, mine. No, Chip's having to. I know Chip's feeling it.
Oh, I know, because he's working in Tuscaloosa and driving to Tuscaloosa and back every day.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's almost to where it's almost more expensive to drive to work than to go to work.
Pays you to stay at home, maybe.
Yeah. Whoa, that may be how they're getting us next time.
Yeah, that's probably, that might be part of the plan. Anyway, I had put on my. I was seeing all these people fussing and stuff about the gas. It kind of. And the pipeline being shut down and all that, it kind of aggravated me because for the last, 2 years or more, if I hadn't said it here, or on a Wednesday night or church services, then I've definitely placed it all over social media, and I've told people over and over again to go on the World Health Organization and the United Nations websites and the European Union websites and all these government websites and read the PDF files and read down their sustainable development goals for 2030 and everything that they have planned. And people, it's when you post things like that. I could post a picture of a frog and you'll get 100 likes and comments and people talking. But if you warn people and say, listen, they are planning a new world order, and they are saying it, and they're saying that this is their plans are to, have a global ID, to change people's DNA, to shut down the use of gas and force everybody to, into public transportation and into electric cars and all their climate change and global warming stuff. I've been telling people forever to look at this stuff, and then everybody acts like they're shocked that these things are happening. Yeah. And I'm like, and even the whole war, I had a guy that was writing something about the war on there, and I said, don't you think it's funny that it's been their plan that's starting in this year, that they were going to all of them in their little group of elites had already said that each one that controlled each country was going to make a massive push down on us being able to use gas and oil and resources like that.
Right.
And I said, and you don't think it's funny that Russia, which is the main supplier of this, is all of a sudden now they're going to war and they've got sanctions against them, and so we're not going to be buying from Russia anymore, and we're shutting down our pipeline. I was like, ain't it weird that just so happened to happen at the exact same time that they needed it to happen?
Right.
And that guy said, what do you think they did? Get with Putin and talk him into going to war so that they could pull off their thing. And I was thinking, how ignorant are people not to realize that these people do talk to each other.
That exact thing.
Yeah, it is a little, a play act with little marionette strings that they're pulling, and they play their role to do what they need to do to get their order, to come across. Of course, there's a power struggle with the world leaders, because you've got different ones that wants to be the main world leader.
The most evil.
Yeah, they're you've got the ones that like the NATO and European Union and all that, they're wanting to take over the world. And Russia is like, hey, I want to take over the world. Mm-hmm. And so, there's a power struggle there. But I don't know how much these people actually believe themselves in the whole climate change. I don't know if they truly believe in climate change, or if that's just what they're telling people to make excuses for the prophetic things that are happening with the earth groaning and that's taking place, or if they know. I don't know how much they know, because as much as they pull the little strings of others, Lucifer's the one that's pulling the strings of everyone.
Right.
And so he's the ultimate deceiver. And so I don't know how deceived they are about what they're doing. Have they been deceived and really believe that global warming is causing these earthquakes and these floods and all these crazy things that are happening on the earth? Or do they know that the end is coming? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've heard people say, I think some people may really be deceived and really believe that and get caught up in it. But I believe the higher ups probably, I know that because Rick Burgess always says you can tell that they don't believe it by their actions. They have yachts and they're flying private jets all over the world. They don't really believe. They're not, most of them don't have electric cars themselves. They're being drove around by other people. They don't believe it. They're just they want to live a different standard than what they're.
Or they believe that if they did mass population reduction, then they could drive what they wanted to.
Right.
And
that's
do what
true
they
too.
want.
I'm sure that's out there.
And do what they wanted to do.
Did you happen to catch the one or 2 episodes that we did where literally 5 minutes before the show, I was like, hey, I'm gonna look up NATO real quick. And then all of their little things had NATO, and then spelled backwards, it was Odin.
Oh, just spelled different.
OTAN is backwards.
Oh, weird.
It's Odin. So say it louder, Odin.
But it's OTAN as well.
OTAN, correct. So then I looked it up. I said, why in the crap are they doing that?
Did you try to look up what the word OTAN means?
And it says it's the French meaning, Organization of Treaty D.
Antiquities.
Nord. So it's the
North.
North American treaties. But it's the French version of the word.
Look at what the word look at what that word means in Hebrew.
Odin in Hebrew?
Yeah, because as weird as it is, they always use Hebrew words because it all goes back to Hebrew. Another weird thing that a lot of people are talking about is the president. For some reason, there's now a big, I don't know if y'all seen a conspiracy theory going around where they're talking about, where a lot of people I've seen from America are talking about how Russia is not bad, that they're being portrayed as bad by the U.S. and all that, but that Russia itself, is not the one that's bad. That they're portraying. Have y'all seen that?
Yeah, I've seen some of that where they're trying to paint it as Ukraine has a corrupt government and they're slaughtering people and part of their Russian citizens or something.
Which, listen, I don't doubt for a second that they're also corrupt.
Oh yeah. No
I believe that. I, honest to God, believe that they're all corrupt. I believe that all the leaders that are leading this world, and I believe that the Bible tells us that they're going to be corrupt because the 10 toes of the European Empire that in the image of Daniel that God said will be the ones that are ruling in the last days when Jesus comes as the stone cut out like a out of the rock and crushes them, that he crushes the world rulers. And in Revelation it says in that great and terrible day of the Lord his wrath that all the leaders of the world would begin to cry and shake and hide themselves from the one that sits on the throne. And so it tells me right there that the world's leaders are not doing that great, that I don't think any of them are what they should be. But I do know this. I do know it is odd that it's very, that it's very strange that it's in the Ukraine, because I don't know if y'all realize this, but the Ukrainian president is also was a TV star, and he is the one that Biden was supposedly trying to blackmail or something at some point, and so all that mess where they were trying to impeach Trump was all about the Ukrainian president, and Trump was calling the Ukrainian president and trying to get him to tell the truth about what Biden was doing. And that conversation with the Ukrainian president is the one that they recorded secretly and the one that they were trying to use against Trump to have him impeached.
I remember that.
And so the Ukrainian president was in that situation, was very highly involved in what was going on with the whole Trump and Biden fight. So it's odd that it just happens to be the Ukrainian president that's now involved in the Biden scandal.
Yeah.
And I know that the Ukrainian president supposedly was involved in the whole Biden's son embezzlement issue.
I remember that too.
And that was part of the thing. And so this guy has been involved with Biden for a while. And so it seems like that there's some kind of strange relationship, and that Trump knew that there was some kind of strange relationship between the two, and he was trying to expose it. And that's that same conversation, that I, and I never really got into the whole details of that whole, what they were impeaching him for or attempting to impeach him for. But I know that it was that conversation that was recorded. And so I find it odd that they say in their Sustainable Development Goal plans that this year that each country, Biden in the United States promised it, the other countries that are involved said they're going to do their part to, stop emissions and make everybody start cutting down on using oil and gas and all that. And then all of a sudden, Russia, one of the main gas lines, is the ones that they're saying, oh, we're not going to use it anymore, and we're going to, and so it looks like it's a good excuse to push their agenda. It's almost like it's a perfect timing to push their agenda. And then the gas prices are being drove up like crazy. Well, how else do you force people to do what you want them to do? Then make it to where they can't afford. It's one thing if they know that standing up and pulling their whole climate change, global warming scenario, they know that by doing that they're going to have some people that are all into it and believe it and or get all into it. But then they also know that there's a bunch of people that don't listen to what they say, and they're going to just keep doing what they're doing. So, they're not going to get all of these people in America that are not, buying into their global warming and climate change mess to stop using gas and stuff like that. So let's jack the prices slap up.
Yeah.
Until where people are forced, because literally in their plan and in Biden's plan as well, it is to get people to move to public transportation. And it's to get people to move into buying these electric cars, which here's the thing about electric cars, they're great to, help you save a little bit of money, but you can't go long ranges on electric cars. Mm-hmm. You have to stop and all that. But I think a lot of this, wanting to put us into public transportation is a way of control as well. Mm-hmm. Because if people are dependent upon public transportation to get where they need to go buy groceries, to go do the things that they need to do. Well, let me tell you something. When it gets to the point, once again, which they've showed us during the whole pandemic that they've done, that if you don't have a certain mark, you can't do it. So if you're trying to ride on a public transportation and they're telling you, look, if you don't have this global ID, you're not going to be able to get anywhere.
Yeah. Something else, a couple of comments on that. For one, I've seen, and I'm sure y'all noticed it too, just to corroborate what you're saying, is I've seen a ton of commercials over the last couple of weeks of electric cars. They've definitely jacked that advertising way up. I've seen articles about it.
You're going to see it more and more and more.
And also, just to go with that, the fact that they want us to all go to electric vehicles. And there was something to this, and I was thinking about it the other day, of them wanting us to stay and be able to control us, to keep us in one spot. Because if they have, it also weakens us as far as like being independent if they get us all to be on electric vehicles, because one EMP attack just would destroy every vehicle. You can't use it anymore. Or they can flip a switch and turn it off.
Yes,
and,
which is what they're going to do.
Right, and that, like I said, we talked about this on the podcast before about them wanting to control us to where we can't do anything, keep us in our houses.
Well, that's a plan. They're making a plan right now where they're going to be able to turn off people's cars, mm-hmm. because they've already talked about that, where people are running from the cops, and that they're having these running from the law and things like that. They said that they're making it to where they can just cut their car off. And I mean, that is their plan. Oh, and it sounds wonderful, if you're not thinking more deeply of the, the reasons for behind it, that, if there's a person that has kidnapped a child and they are taking off with that child, mm-hmm. and trying to cross state lines, man, the government could just shut their car off. And they would, and they wouldn't be able to take them off. Or if somebody, was drunk driving and somebody reported them, the government could just cut their car off. Mm-hmm. Oh, it sounds wonderful until you realize that it's communism and the government is controlling. Mm-hmm. And even God allows free will. Yeah. As bad as free will can be, a lot of times, even God give us free will. And so the government to tell us, if you're doing something bad, we're cutting your car off. That's complete communism. That's where the government makes the decisions on whether you can even drive your car or not, and that's where they're getting to. Mm-hmm. They're taking us to a place of total control and getting us prepared for a place of total control, to where if you don't obey what they tell you to do, you don't drive.
Right.
You can, not only can you not buy or sell, you can't drive. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's exactly what they did. It's what they did with their little pandemic. They create the problem so that they can control the solution. I heard somebody say the other day, I think it was it Alexis or Ramy or somebody, when they were preaching or teaching or something, said that China sure did it. Oh, it was Alexis, when they mm-hmm. made this virus. And I thought, China was not the only one involved in making this virus. I thought, man, the United States and all of the crooked elites are just as involved in the middle of this, in the Gates Foundation, and all of them are just as involved in this virus as well. I don't blame China for this virus, when you've had people in the elites of America that have bought patents mm-hmm. for the virus before the virus ever hit. Mm-hmm. And when they were meeting in October in New York City talking about the virus, when the virus didn't even supposedly exist yet.
Right.
They put on that mm-hmm. agenda where they met together.
Event 201.
Yeah, Event 201. And what's crazy is I had somebody the other day ask me, they said, when I shared that video of this comedian, he's a comedian, but he's also like an activist, and he's funny.
He is funny.
I
have that video.
Yeah, I shared his video where he was showing these world elites talking in their meetings about changing our DNA and how they were going to control people. And they were saying it just out and out. And somebody wrote on my page and they said, man, they're not even trying to hide it. They're just saying it. And I said, because they don't have to hide it.
They don't.
Because people don't care. You can share it. I share information like this. I tell people, go on there and look. It's on their page. One, they know nobody's going to take time to go read anything. Two, they know that they're not going to scroll down. People are not going to go and watch one of their meetings and listen to the whole meeting and all that stuff, because they've got people so preoccupied with their social medias and with sports and with this and with that their lives are so preoccupied that they don't have time to do any research or study. So they mock us. They say all these things and mock us. And they put it on their pages. They say it in their meetings. They video record their meetings and then place the video on their pages. And then when the few people that do have their eyes open see these things that are going on, and they warn people about it, then they mark it on Facebook or something and say that it may not be true.
Yeah, they get labeled as conspiracy theorists, and people disregard it.
And they mock it. And when they know for a fact it's true, because they're saying it themselves.
That's so true.
But that's the whole thing. You could say everybody for years when we knew, and we always heard about the mark of the beast, and we were taught. You're always taught one way. Everybody was always taught of how things were going to transpire in the end. And a lot of people are being deceived because things are not transpiring the way that they thought that it was going to transpire, the way that they were always led to believe that, oh, this is what's going to happen. We're all going to get raptured. And then once everybody gets raptured, then all this stuff is going to start taking place. And that's, if that's what you've been taught. But what it blows my mind is that's what I always thought too. That's what I've always been taught. But then when you see things beginning to play out and you see these things and they line up with the Word of God, and you see that they're talking about a new world order, and you see that they're talking about all these things that the Bible says was going to happen, and it's playing out in front of you, there's people that they still refuse to see what's going on because they will not believe that it's happening before they're taken out of here. Right. So they will not comprehend it, and because of their own pride, they're being deceived because it's right in front of their face, but they don't see the truth. And I've heard so many preachers and people say, oh, well, even though it looks just like this, it can't be this because we're still here.
Right. I've heard that a lot.
And so they don't pay attention to exactly what's going on, and they don't realize, hey, you know what? I could have been wrong. I could have had the timing wrong. My understanding of it could have been wrong. And until we learn to humble ourselves and realize that that is the whole reason that the Jews missed Jesus when he came the first time, is because they had been taught the Torah their whole life. They had been taught about the Messiah coming, and they had been taught exactly what it meant and how it was going to go down and what he was going to do when he came. And they took scripture that said that, that he was going to rule with a rod of iron, and that he was going to trample the enemy like a wine press, and he was going to do all this. They took those scriptures, and so they taught that he was going to come as a battle warrior, and that he was going to destroy Rome, and he was going to set them free in a political fighting standard. So when Jesus came, also fulfilling scripture of being a lamb that was coming for the slaughter, and all these other things that the scripture also said about Jesus, and prophecy said about him. A lot of prophecies they ignored because it was like David's prayers and things like that they didn't have eyes to see the truth of the scripture. But so when Jesus came, they did not acknowledge that he came because he didn't come the way they thought he was going to come. And that's exactly what the church world's doing now.
Yeah.
He's not, all this is not playing out the way that they thought it was going to play out. And so they are in a place of complete denial that it's all happening.
Yeah, just look back over the past 2 years. You've had pestilence. You've had, and that, we went through 2 years of this, and now we're going into a
Pretty much a World War III.
A World War III, and a climate that's going to make prices rise on everything, not just gas. I mean, people are worried that the groceries are about to skyrocket.
They are skyrocketed. My
yeah,
gosh.
they are.
I don't know how y'all
Fast food has even skyrocketed.
You feed yourself right now, but if you're buying groceries for a family, it has went up it's like crazy amount. Groceries are ridiculously high. I can remember, used to being able to go to the grocery store and spend $150 and get groceries. Now $100 is nothing but a couple of snacks.
Yeah.
I mean, boom. I mean, it's gone immediately.
I haven't gone to the grocery store. I've been eating out a lot, but I went for the first time 2-3 nights ago, and I spent exactly what you just said. I was shooting for $60, going to have about a week's worth of dinners, just for myself. Came out of there with $120 worth of groceries, and it was nothing, like 4 days worth of food. And I was like, this is stupid.
And I don't think we've really paid attention to how expensive, value meals have gotten at fast food restaurants. I was looking at them the other day, and I was like, dude, it's $10 for a value meal. I can remember not too terribly long ago, it was like $5.69 or $5, $6, that max for a value meal.
I went to Zaxby's and got just their regular number 3. It's like chicken and chicken wings, and all I said was, give me a medium Coke or a medium sweet tea. $14. And I've gotten that meal a lot just in the last few months. It was $12. I get that a lot.
Yeah.
Now it's $14.
Now, mind you guys, we're in Alabama. Obviously, we got some people who watch this who aren't, and Alabama has the low end of every spectrum
of pricing.
So you get that average and you get that low in the top. We're not in the middle. We're at the end. Maybe even sometimes lower than that.
We're number 7.
Yeah. So
of the lowest of
y'all are probably laughing at us saying $15 per meal.
Are y'all impressed? I knew that just off the top of my head.
Yeah, I didn't.
Thanks.
But that's preposterous for us. That's crazy.
Well, here's another thing that I've realized was got higher, and I was sending it to Tracy today because I was just blown away. I've been looking for houses for rent around the country area where things are cheap because it's far off from the interstate. The farther you get from the interstate, the cheaper rental houses and stuff go. So we've got friends that are wanting to move here from New York, and I've got friends that are wanting to relocate for here. And so I've been trying to help them find rental properties, and I was completely floored when I saw how much it costs to rent houses. A little bitty small old house in Warrior is renting for $1,200 a month.
Yep.
These are the houses that were renting for $500 and $400 when I was 20 years old. Some of those same houses were renting for $400 and $500 a month. Now they're renting for $1,200 and $1,300 a month. And then I'm talking about these are not
good.
Not good houses.
Yeah. I don't see how people afford it.
And then the normal little subdivision houses are renting for $1,600 a month. And I was like, I could not find one house that was under $900 a month for rent. And I was like, and I had told these people, I said, man, you moved to Alabama. I was like, you can get something in the country to rent for $600 a month. Because you could.
Yeah.
A little trailer, but even the trailers and stuff like that are renting for $800, $900 to $1,000 a month.
Yep.
It's my mind's boggled by it. And I was thinking, I told my son today, I said, aren't you glad that I talked you into getting a small home? I said, because you can't afford anymore to rent. People are going to have to end up living and splitting houses.
Yeah.
Because people are not going to be able to afford to pay for houses. I mean, thank God for the Holy Spirit, and that years ago He laid it on my heart for us to get our house paid off and our bills paid, because I thought to myself, man, as bad as things are getting, I was thinking, Lord, I wouldn't be able to rent a house if I was trying to rent a house right now. I wouldn't be able to pay $1,800. As big as our family is, I could. These are 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom houses that are renting for this. My mind is blown.
That's what I was saying. When this housing market, went up from all this COVID stuff, I thought about selling my house and because I would make a lot more money than what I paid for it years ago. But I come to the conclusion that there's no way I would find anything even remotely close to that right now that I'm paying right now.
Oh, Lord, no.
And so that would be not wise of me. So, but
Guys,
yeah,
if you bought a house before now, you better thank God you did, is all I can say. Because right now it's getting worse. It's getting bad. My mind is boggled at how expensive that things are really getting. But here's another thing that I just got to give God. I got to give kudos to God. I haven't really paid attention to how expensive everything has gotten because God is so faithful that I haven't noticed that we haven't had a struggle. You know what I'm saying? It's like I know when I'm paying for groceries that I'm thinking, dadgum, that's high. Or, if I, go through the drive-thru, I'm like, what did she say? Did she just say $14 for that meal? Yeah. And make comments like that. But it's not like I've to the point to where I've been noticing it to where it's because it's hurt me. It has not hurt me because thank God for covenant promises.
Yeah.
And I was telling somebody the other day, people that are not in covenant are going to be in a mess with as things take place. And even being in covenant, I have to say I wrote something one day and somebody wrote on my page and they said, why do you even worry about all this? When I was talking about end time prophecy, and they said, if you're ready to go and you're born again and ready to meet the Lord, then why do you even care? And I said, because it's my job to tell other people.
Right.
Like, duh. Like that, I cannot stand when people do that. They're like, why do you even put on your Facebook or care if this is happening or who the Antichrist is or if there's a new world order if you're ready to meet Jesus? And I'm thinking, because there's other people that aren't, dummy.
Right.
And that's my job to tell people. And if I wasn't telling people, I wouldn't be ready to meet Jesus because that's part of being ready is being about the Father's business and warning other people that these things are coming. But people are going to be in a place to where there's going to be a lot of people that are messed up, that they're not going to be able to afford to drive to work. They're not going to be able to afford, and so let me tell you what that causes. When you get groceries so high that people can't afford to buy them, and you get gas so high that people can't afford to drive, what you create then is you've got the people that are rich, that they're still going to be all right. But then you've got all these people from middle class and below that it's going to get to the point to where they can't afford to do it. So what are they going to do? The government's going to step up and give them a bunch of money that we don't have because we're already in deficit.
Right.
Only if they're
And
not in what is it called?
and they'll give everybody food coupons.
To make them more dependent.
And so they'll become more dependent on the state, and they'll have to have the state give them money to eat. They'll have to have the state give them money to help them get this, and then when it gets to the point to where they are so dependent on the state to meet all of their needs because they haven't given all their needs to God, then what then happens is that when the state demands that they have to do something in order to receive these things, people are going to line up to do it.
That's true.
And so it is all setting the stage of complete dependence so that they have complete control.
Fear was enough for some people when they're forced to do it because they can't eat, or they're forced to do it because they can't.
Or they'll lose their job.
Yeah, or lose their job.
Or even some people that were going to college and beginning college, they were like, oh, well, I want to go to college to be this, so I've got to go ahead and do that, because I want to go to college to do this. And so, that worked a lot. But then it's going to get to the point to where people are dependent, and the government's going to rise up just like this has happened throughout history, just like the Roman government came after there was a great plague in Rome, and during that great plague they blamed the Christians, and they said that it was the Christians' fault because the Christians were not worshiping Zeus, so Zeus had allowed that great plague to come. So they made and they said so. People were so messed up and it damaged the economy and blah, 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 that that Rome was feeding everybody. Rome was giving out coins with their emperor's face on it and feeding people. Rome was taking care of their citizens, feeding them. And you had to go and, carry your papyrus sheet that said that you burned incense to Zeus to be able to walk into the markets and to use your little coins that was given to you by Rome to get your food or to get your wheat and your barley and the stuff that they gave out to eat. And that's why Rome collapsed. Rome collapsed because of that, because it killed itself from the inside out. Because the emperors figured out that they could control the people by making the people so dependent and needy upon them. And so if I go out there and I throw out food and I throw out stuff to the people, then the people will depend upon me and so they used it for control mechanisms to be dictators, because Rome, of course, if people didn't know this or not, Rome was supposed to have been one of the first ones that set up a parliament, where they voted and they had a board of people and like a senate and things like that. That's the way it was supposed to be. But the emperors always pulled rank, and there was a bunch of people killing people for control and so forth and so on. But they had learned how to go around that by, giving to the people and keeping everybody dependent upon Rome for their food and for their meal tickets and things like that. And what that did was that kept them in complete control. They could do whatever they wanted to do because the people, it makes people lazy. It makes them to where they don't want to do anything. And so, look what Dawn said. I'm seeing where some people are already getting over 1,000 on their food stamps. It's already happening. My gosh. 1,000 a month?
That's crazy. It is true, though. A lot of those people on food stamps, they
eat good.
They eat better than people that don't.
When I was a teenager, I went to my friend's house. She lived with her grandparents, and they got food stamps. And I thought, my God, this is the best food I've ever seen in my life. Like, they had all the good food, like all the jalapeno poppers and corn dogs and snacks hanging out of every cabinet and stuff like that. And I was like, man, they know how to eat. So I came back home because my mom would always just have stuff you had to cook, man. It was always frozen stuff. You had to lay out the food. You had to cook a meal.
Yeah.
There wasn't no going in there and just throwing something in the microwave. And so now I'm thankful for it, because we'd have probably been morbidly obese, if we would have just been able to do it. But I went to her house, man, on the weekends, and I'd eat like a pig because they was getting all that free food.
Free money.
And where they lived back then, things were so different. Even back then, there was a restaurant right down the road from their house, and her grandfather had a charge where he could charge and pay his bill monthly, and they could go out to eat whenever they wanted to without no money.
Yeah.
And so me and her would sneak every day for lunch, and we'd go eat lunch, and we'd put it on her grandpa's tab.
Wow.
And I can remember at the end of the month, her grandpa went to pay his tab. He was like, "What is this?" Because we had been going every day, and we'd been she was like, "Just put on my grandpa's tab." I don't even think that even exists anymore.
Yeah, probably not.
But what was crazy is that her grandfather had a tab to go out to eat all the time. But yet he was getting those food stamps for free. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, but people that have food stamps do eat good. That's a fact. Kirsty said, I cashiered at Walmart and I couldn't afford steak and shrimp. Though me and Gray both worked, but others could all day long. Oh, yeah, that's the truth.
It is true.
And they'll sell them suckers too.
Yeah.
We had a guy call the church one time and asked the church if he could borrow some money, and he said that he would take us and buy us some food, buy us some food with his food stamps. And I was like, sir, that's illegal. And I was like, and we can't do that at a church. I was like, you can't trade us your food stamp.
Yeah, that's so funny.
For money. And guys, if you're watching this and you do that and you're offended, I'm sorry, but that is against the law to trade your food stamps for anything.
And we're going to go ahead and track your IP address.
If you're doing that, then you need to repent right now, because you're not supposed to do that. That's not right. That
On a different note, how attractive is that dairy farm looking that I've suggested
not attractive
half
at
a
all.
year ago?
No.
I'm just saying, we would be set up. That thing had like 20 houses on it.
Cows are big, man.
But it had like trailers and houses and tons of places to stay.
And there wasn't a bunch of houses on that dairy farm.
We could have made houses.
Yeah,
We had the lumber.
That takes us to the price of lumber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is extremely high.
It is.
Make your own lumber.
You'd have to cut down your own wood, and have to sawmill it.
Yeah.
Do it and sell it because I'll buy it. That's how high it is right now.
And did y'all know that the government in this part of this global union thing, one of the things that they're doing is they're buying up houses. I don't know if y'all have seen this or you know this, but that's also part of their plan is they're buying farms. And they're buying up all the farmland and they're buying up all the houses. Jay, oh, you're crazy.
It is funny.
Buy us a steak then. I didn't say you couldn't give them out.
Yeah, that's true.
You can give them, you just can't trade them.
He said, I'll sling them out.
Won't you do it?
Give as it's given unto you. Bring some steak Sunday.
If you feel led.
But seriously, when I was looking at houses in the housing market because I was so blown away by the rental market, I was reading and and this was on like one of those what's happening in Hayden something pages, and people were like, people are coming up and buying houses, and they said, guys, you're selling your houses to these people from New York and California and all that stuff. They're buying all these rural houses, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're buying all these rural houses and they're buying up all the farmland. And I don't know if a lot of people realize this is one of the big things about global warming is they hate cows. And they're trying to get rid of dairy farms and dairy cows because they're saying that these cows passing gas is causing global warming and climate change.
That's crazy.
And so part of the climate change thing is Kamala Harris. I was reading about where the PETA people were telling her you can't truly be an anti-climate change person and still be a meat eater. You need to be a vegan. And so because they were talking about how having all these cows and all this stuff is causing more global warming. So they're trying to get rid of the and when you get people in a place to where they're financially strapped, and then, some bigwig comes up and offers to pay them more for their house than what it's worth, and then you're going to have a lot of people selling out their farms and selling out their houses. Yeah. And so we better just prepare. I did see one girl commented on my post when I was talking about this stuff and said, well, God's going to take care of us. And he does. God will take care of you. He says he will. But he never told us that we wouldn't ever have to go through anything. I mean, there were Christians during the Great Depression.
In the Chosen, it says beautifully, when has our people ever had it good? Or ever had to go, how does she say it? She said, when have our people never had to go through anything bad? And that spoke volumes to me. When I watched it, I was like, she's right. And that hit me, my mindset changed. You're not always going to have sunshine and roses. There are hard times. It may not be, you'll get through them. I mean, I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
Oh, wow, Chrissy, I didn't know that. Chrissy said, an agency bought their house. But she didn't have no idea at the time what was going on. But they're turning everyone into renters. It's exactly what they are, so no one will own anything. And that's what that guy, Schwab dude, says, is that pretty soon nobody will own anything and they'll be happy for it. That's exactly, guys, that is exactly what it was like at the times of Rome. People did not own anything, and the government owned everything and gave things out to them, and they were like little beggars. This is the way that when kings and rulers ruled, this is the way stuff was. Let's even go back to Joseph, which was wonderful in the Bible. He was a good ruler. Joseph was a good, godly man, but he knew how to get control because during the famine, during the good times, and they collected and stuff like that. But then when it came down to the times of the famine, people were coming and they needed food, and so they would give the Pharaoh all their land, and then they would give the Pharaoh all their stuff, and so they traded. They kept trading, and then they ended up becoming slaves to the Pharaoh, because they needed more food. They needed more food, and so whoever holds the food can make people slaves. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Whoever's owning the land and owning the food can make people slaves. And that's since the beginning of time.
Mm-hmm. And whoever has the oil nowadays.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Which could go back to the whole Gog Magog war ordeal. I don't know, how many other countries are big against the whole oil thing. I know it's a big European thing. But I do know that Israel discovered oil. and they were drilling, and they've discovered all these natural. At first, Israel had that little bitty slither of land, and they had took all the rest of their land that was full of oil and minerals and gas and all the things that makes a land rich, was stolen from them, and all they have is this little slither of land that was just had a dead sea, and mud is all they had.
Yeah.
And God has made them rich and prosperous just on mud.
Right.
But now they've drilled and they have found natural resources, and I know in the battle of Gog and Magog, and even in the battles in Revelation where it says the other countries come over, it says that they look at Israel and they're like, hey, look at them with all their stuff. They've got all this resources and all this rich, they're so blessed right now. Let's go in there and let's take it and plunder them all.
Yeah.
And so, I will say this for all the people do I believe that our country is innocent in all this? No. Do I believe that the Ukraine is innocent? No. Do I believe the Ukrainian leader is a good, godly, wonderful man? No. I don't believe any of them involved in the 10 toes of the image of Daniel are innocent by any means. Do I believe that Putin, like a lot of people are saying, is the good guy in this scenario, that they are saying that?
Yeah,
No, I do not believe that Gog of Magog is in one at all innocent in this,
Right.
because God calls him out. And like Gage said to us the other day, he said, hey, let's put a fish hook in his mouth, because God talks in Ezekiel 38, it talks about Gog of Magog, Gog being the ruler of Magog, which is now Russia. And you may say, well, what makes Magog Russia? Because literally the man named Magog, from Japheth's descendants, intermixed with Ham's descendants, and they came over and made up what is the country now of Russia. And some of actual Turkey and stuff was made up of Magog. And so that's how we know. And then when the Bible talks about the country of Magog, it's talking about Russia. And then in Revelation 16, when it's talking about the Euphrates River drying up, during so that they will march over and try to come against Israel. The Euphrates River in the last 2 years has also dried up, and they have now came against Israel. They're going to come against Israel more and more. It's all coming in alignment. Did y'all read where Putin is now taking 16,000 Middle Eastern fighters are volunteering to come and fight for Putin against the Ukraine right now.
I did see that.
And so 16,000 people, these are not hired fighters, mercenaries. These are people that are volunteering from the Middle East just to come and fight on Putin's side.
Yeah.
Does anybody even comprehend how prophetic that is? Because the Bible says that they will form an alliance. And like I've said so many times, there's not been a time in history when Russia, Iran, and Turkey have ever been in an alliance until recently in the last few years. They've made this alliance. Now you've got Middle Eastern people voluntarily coming and fighting for Putin.
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
weird. Why would you go and risk your life to fight for Russia against the Ukraine, which are European countries, when you're a Middle Eastern person? How does that make any sense?
It doesn't. What benefit? How does it benefit them?
Well, there's not. And that's what Putin was saying. He was like, yeah, I'm going to use them, because he said these people are not even being paid to do this. He said these people are doing this because they want to. So why? What do they got against the Ukraine?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I mean, I don't know if you're watching and listening to us and you have a clue about any of what I just now talked about, or any feed into that, then please share it with us, because that's another thing that's kind of got my mind boggled. Because I understand if your country's being attacked, or you're trying to defend your country, volunteering to fight, but I can't comprehend why. It'd be like our people going and volunteer. Well, America does crazy stuff.
They do that. I saw a Texas man over there doing some crazy stuff.
That he went?
For Russia, yeah. For Russia, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I did hear on the radio somebody said something about
didn't
there
know.
was like 2,000 or 3,000 people, Americans, volunteered to go fight for Ukraine, over there. I don't know if if that actually.
See, I can't comprehend that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. For now, I
there's
guess
a bunch
it's true.
of bored veterans and just bored people in general that want to go strap.
I mean, I don't like Russia, and of course Russia's evil, and Putin's evil, obviously. But he's not really my enemy. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't really think about. Oh God, I hate Putin.
Right.
I mean, we've got enough crazy politicians in America to worry about,
Yeah.
much less some other world dictator right
that's
now. That I would be worried about. I can't comprehend why people would want to go over there and fight. But I can tell you this: the reason I know that Ukraine in this whole battle is not just innocent, which everybody thinks is like they're so innocent, is because the news is pushing it too much.
Yeah.
They're pushing this story too much. You know what I'm saying? And so, if the news media is pushing the story that Ukraine is wonderful and that president of Ukraine is this wonderful, awesome guy, and I don't know if any of y'all have seen it, but they were posting pictures of Ukrainians voluntarily fighting, and it was showing women and men and everything. And when they looked at the guns they were supposedly carrying up close, they were fake. They were fake guns. And they were posting it in the media like it was real pictures of freedom fighters and stuff.
Yeah, that is crazy. I've seen a few different things like that where they've some blame. It's just so confusing because some videos showed like a bunch of body bags on the ground and people were moving in the body bags. Like they were just propped up there to look like a bunch of people had been killed, but they were still alive. It was just a scene that was propped like that. But I've seen it on both sides. I've seen it to where they say Ukrainians are putting propaganda out there to make Russia look bad. And I've seen the opposite, where it said Russia is doing things and putting stuff out there to make the Ukrainians look bad. So it's like, who do you trust?
Well, I know that they do make wars look way worse on media and news than what really may be going on, because I can remember my aunt and uncle went to Israel on vacation, and then it came on the news, and my grandmother and us were watching it, and it was like Israel's being bombed right now. There's big wars going on right now. And so my grandmother was freaking out, and she calls my aunt and them and was like, "Are y'all okay? Are y'all okay?" And they were like, "What?" And she was like, "It's all over the news that there's y'all are being bombed and there's this big war taking place over there." And she was like, "We hadn't seen or heard nothing." And there was some little things going on, but it wasn't like what you would think. Like the way that they made it out, it was not anything like that they were making out. People were walking around and looking at stuff and shopping and eating, and there wasn't no alarm sounding or nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was like they were hitting each other with certain little things, but to watch it on the news, you'd be seeing people running and screaming and buildings collapsing and everything else.
Yeah, that was just on that. It was weird because I was looking up the population of Ukraine the other day, and it said there's like 44 million people that live there, but the numbers that I've seen, there's only been close to 1 million, maybe 2 million at this point that has fled the country into other countries. It's like, if that was me and I've seen what I've seen on the news, why would I stay there? I'm out. But I thought that number would be higher than that.
Well, they're trying to stop them from fleeing too, I thought, though. Aren't
Yeah.
they? I Russia trying to keep them in.
Maybe they are. I don't know. I just thought that was compared to the population and the people that's actually left, maybe they just don't want to leave their home. I don't know, but
No, I know
some of those pictures are devastating.
One thing that stood out to me about Gog and Magog coming against the Ukraine is, a lot of people don't realize this, but a lot of Ukrainian people are actually Jewish.
Yeah, I was about to say
They're
there's
Israelis.
There's a big old exodus from Ukraine going on right now.
Right. A lot of people there, including the president himself, are Ashkenazi Jews, which are European, actually Israelites, because the word Jew actually means from Judah, but everybody calls them Jews. But a lot of the people there are Jews. So, I mean, you've really already got Magog attacking the Israeli people, because a lot of those people are that. And you do have a lot of them trying to go back and get back into Israel right now, which, prophecy with that began to be fulfilled in 1948 when Israel became a nation again in one day, and they came from all over the world in different countries to go back to their homeland. But the Bible says that they'll return back. And they've still been returning back to Israel ever since 1948 by droves, back to their homeland, and they were returning back from in different African countries and all that just last year. And now they're returning, in a big amount from the Ukraine. And so that's another prophecy that's continuing to take place. He says Zelensky is making them stay and fight. Oh, he's not letting them leave? I thought he wasn't going to leave.
Yeah, I did. When he said males 18 to 16 cannot leave, I did hear that too.
Oh, really? Zelensky said that? 60? My God, that's a little low to be making them fight.
Yeah, that's old. That is old.
I mean, they can pull trigger.
A lot of people in their 60s are not
That's like
in great health and stuff. I mean, I'm not saying that about everybody, but
Yeah.
I mean, you got one person in their 60s that can, be as spry as a chicken,
Right,
and then
right.
some that are like really sick.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, I wanted to get y'all's thoughts on the current Prime Minister of Israel, that Bennett guy. He's trying to play the peacemaker between the two countries.
His name's Bennett, and he ain't in it.
Yeah.
he's putting himself in it. That's for sure.
Which, by the way, his name is Naphtali Bennett, which I
Right,
thought that was interesting.
right.
Like the
Oh, the tribe. He must
Yeah,
be
the
from the tribe. I
so
need to
maybe
check.
some-
I need to check his.
Maybe something to that. But anyways, he was just in Moscow like a couple days ago, talking to Putin, trying to
Ew.
trying to bring peace to the situation, and he's also close in contacts with Zelensky. So my question is, at some point, Putin and those relationships have got to fall apart. Even TJ shared that thing where the Israeli president, not the prime minister, but the president, was in Turkey talking to their president. So it's like
Erdogan.
yeah, Erdogan or something. So at the current moment, it seems like those relationships are at least functioning, but at some point they're gonna fall apart.
No, they hate each other. They just go and talk.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll go talk and still hate each other's guts.
They'll talk
Yeah,
about
that's
how
true.
much they hate each
Now,
other.
China is supposed to be like buddies with Russia. It's from the last that I heard, and China. I think Russia's trying to make it their own monopoly with Iran and Turkey, and there's going to be some people from Sudan that joins in with them. The Bible says, there's going to be some of the African countries are going to join in with them as well. And then it's like it's kind of the war. The Bible says there's going to be a power play, and one's going to come up, up on top of the base system. There's going to be a power play, and I guess Putin is right now pushing his power play.
Yeah.
And trying to pull his rank. And one of the reasons that he was fussing is about America, because he said I was reading where he had said something about America. America was as well as the European Union and the UN or whatever was trying to push themselves too much. So he's trying to get more power because he's saying that we're getting too because America joined in with them again, we had pulled out of it, that now they've gotten too big for their britches. And so he's trying to push back and say, y'all are taking too much power, because, Emmanuel Macron keeps on telling everybody that he wants the European Union to rule the world and to be the ones that rule everything. And he wants to push America down too. Now, here's where it gets bad. Even the people that America's supposed to be buddies with, the European Union, they really don't want America to, and they've made it plain, to be the world power anymore. Yeah. And they've said that they don't want us to be the world power, that we have too much power and they don't like it. And so even the ones that are supposedly, on our side want us to fall.
Yeah.
And now Russia is mad at us and wants us to fall. And I just hate to break it to you. A lot of people say that America's not found in the Bible, but they are. And I believe that they're Babylon the Great, that the Bible talks about the mystery Babylon. Why? Because Babylon, where it is now in the physical aspect, has been destroyed, for one. But two, and a lot of people are saying they're waiting for Babylon to be rebuilt. It's not going to be that Babylon, because the Bible talks about mystery Babylon being surrounded by the waters, and Babylon is not surrounded by the waters. Where Babylon sits on a map, Babylon is not around oceans and seas and things like that. This is a new Babylon that it's talking about. That's why it's called the mystery Babylon. Yeah. What's the mystery? Who is the new Babylon is what it's saying. And we have the whore of Babylon on our waters all over America, the Statue of Liberty. The guy, Ferdinand, blah, 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 who created her, said that he created her in the image of the whore of Babylon. And so she is the whore of Babylon, and us in France are the only ones that have her. And France has 2 small ones, and we have 147 of her sitting on our waters. And it says, the light of your lamp, I'll make it stop shining, and blah, 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 blah. God is talking about that. And when you read it in the Bible, it sounds like, what did y'all call it, an EMP?
Mm-hmm. Electromagnetic pulse.
Yeah, when it talks about that city, getting messed up in one day, that all the world trade takes place in and all that. It sounds like some kind of
electromagnetic.
Yeah,
pulse.
like boom, in one day, she's took off the grill.
Just a nuclear attack or something.
Oh yeah, the spikes on her crown. Yep, you're right. And she's anyway. The fact that we have the first horse that rides out, it is pestilence, which the definition for pestilence I put on my Facebook page is literally a worldwide contagious illness. That's literally the definition of pestilence. And then the second horse that rides out, of course, is war and fighting and unrest. We can't ignore that. We can't ignore that when we also know that the Pope signed a 7-year peace treaty. With the UN and the Sustainable Development Goals, and that Trump signed a peace treaty just 2 years ago, and that we've had locusts all over the world, and wildfires and flooding and massive chaos and damage and
volcanoes
and crazy volcano eruptions, and now we're about to see prices spike high, which would be the next horse. And am I saying that these are the seals, or that these are the horses? Well, I'm saying I'm not going to.
they're not.
I'm sure not going to say they ain't, because the word for the first horse in Greek is Apollo. Is the first horse is wearing a crown, which could be a Stephanos or a corona, and it's carrying a bow, which that word literally means a plague. And if you look into it and you realize the explanation, it's describing the false god Apollo, which carried around a bow and shot people with famines and plagues, and then he would bring the cure. And so we've seen that happen, and now to me that's hard to ignore. That's kind of hard to ignore.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing this, and I've heard people say, well, in history they've had plagues and stuff before. Well, yeah, that we've also had Antichrist before, because Jesus even said you'll see many Antichrists rise up, but then there'll be the last Antichrist, which will happen, during the generation that sees Israel become a nation again in one day. But one thing we haven't had is Israel become a nation again in one day until 1948. And so, therefore, this Antichrist will be the Antichrist. There was an Antichrist right before 1948. It was Hitler.
Yeah.
We've had, Stalin's, he was an Antichrist. There's been a lot of people that are, I've got to tell you one more crazy thing. Trudeau, or whatever his name is, the Canadian president. Trudeau. Have y'all seen the video that same guy that does the video where he's revealing all the global elites?
Yeah.
He does a video about that guy, and I was blown away because at first I thought, no, that's crazy, man. But then he showed pictures. Did y'all see that video?
Where he looks like
Fidel Castro.
Castro, yeah.
Dude.
I haven't seen the video, but I've seen that comparison.
Okay, well, at first I thought, okay, y'all are going too far, because sometimes I think these people, I'm like, y'all are making crap up. But then I didn't realize that they knew each other, and he was showing pictures of him holding him when he was a baby. Fidel Castro holding the dude.
Wow.
And he showed the picture that, like, supposedly that dude's mom and dad were swingers or whatever. And and it was showed a picture of the man that was married to his mom and him next to each other. And then him and Fidel, and they looked just alike.
Really?
It even did a face one where it cut off half his face and put it with, it was the same face.
Wow.
It was crazy.
That would be crazy.
And it was, anyway, it was talking about his dictatorship. And listen, I don't know if we got to, I don't even know what that guy's name is. What is that guy's name that does the funny videos?
Awaken with JP is the...
Yeah, Awaken. Yes, show that. Can you show it through this camera?
let's see.
Just Google it.
Yeah, I can pull it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's called Awaken with JP is the guy, and he does a video, and it says something about and the Canadian president. If you get a chance, watch that video and watch the one that says what's that guy's name? He says, is he the most evil man in the world or whatever?
Klaus Schwab.
Yeah, Klaus Schwab is the most evil. Watch that video, because that video, if that don't wake you up, then you're just dead. Because
Yeah.
to me,
Wow.
it's just there. They're telling their whole plan of trying to control people, and trying to change their DNA. There you go. I mean, dude, that's his kid.
Yeah, hands down, they look exactly alike. What in the world?
Hold on.
I mean,
pull this up.
if I was somebody, and I would get near that guy and pull a hair.
Yeah, it really does look just like
I
him.
mean, that's his. And look up Fidel Castro holding that guy when he was a baby.
Do the viewers a service and tell them who Fidel Castro is.
Oh, well, I think everybody knows who Fidel Castro is. Do you not know who?
Oh my god.
He
I
killed
do not
thousands.
know who Fidel is.
Oh my God.
I was trying to be nonchalant about it. Apparently, everybody knows who this is, but me.
Okay, he was a dictator. Fidel Castro was a dictator that was run Cuba, and he controlled pretty much. He controlled everybody, and some people will say he was a wonderful, loved his people and all that, but he murdered massive amounts of his own people because they wouldn't, if they didn't do what he told them to do. There's him holding him as a baby with his mom. You know what I'm saying? Look at the way he's looking at that kid. Mm-hmm. And then down there at the very bottom to the left is the split face.
Yeah, that is crazy.
They do look
That's
alike.
I wasn't going to believe it when he first said it. And then after the end of it, I thought, oh my God, this dude is not even kidding.
I mean, you don't get the eyebrows like that. That is too much similarity.
The bone structure and everything.
That's his legit dad. That's what's so crazy.
That is crazy.
To me, that's mind-boggling. But I mean, all the world leaders are kin anyway. They're all kin to each other. That's a proven fact. Oh, and there's his mom on the bottom. Yeah, there's his mom with him right there,
Oh yeah.
with her hand on him.
She does seem pretty intimate.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. With a crazy dictator.
Yeah, that looks like him right there too. Look at it.
I know, it's crazy.
That is crazy.
And he's the one that's like being a communist control Nazi. And that's exactly what his dad did. Mm-hmm. It's just, to me, that's mind-boggling. Like, how'd that sucker get to Canada?
Yeah, who knows?
You know, like, that's crazy. So, pretty much every ruler that's ever ruled England, France, Germany, Spain, all of our U.S. presidents are the same family. Mm-hmm. That's proven fact. It's the same family. Then you got Fidel Castro over here, and his family now is over there dictating Canada. Man, the same darn families are dictating the whole world, and people do not want to see that. And they tell you you're, conspiracy theory. You don't got to be a conspiracy theory when it's out there. It's proven. You know, I mean, DNA has proven that they're all kin to each other, and that they're all cousins.
Wow.
I mean, somebody said something one time. I think it was to either Obama or either it was to Trump about being cousins, and they were like, "Oh, really?" You know, it just kind of like played it off.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, they're all cousins with each other. But anyway, I think that's weird. I know if I lived in Canada, my butt would be sneaking into America.
Yeah, I would too.
I'd be getting rid of little Castro Jr. You'll have to read on him.
Yeah, I'll have to watch that video. I did watch that other video, the Schwab video though. That is, people need to watch that.
Yeah, that one's crazy.
Yeah, I would play it, but I'm afraid that it would get us kicked off because
Yeah.
I think he got
definitely
kicked off.
Yeah, they'll flag it. I think
100%.
So you'll have to look it up yourself, but look up that Truth with J.
Awaken with JP.
Yeah, Awaken with JP.
Very sarcastic redheaded guy, but he is hilarious.
The conspiracy theories become facts after the people have already realized that it's happened. After it's too late, that's when people decide that it's actually fact. After it's too late, it's like I wonder back when they were doing my mind just went blank when they were doing the whole in Tuscaloosa, the whatchamacallit, when they were messing with the black African American men.
Oh, the
My mind went blank.
Yeah, I don't remember names.
it ain't Tuscumbia, is it?
Yeah, the Tuskegee.
Tuskegee.
The Tuskegee experiment.
There it is.
I wonder how many people thought, you know what, I wonder if the government is like just messing around and using us as guinea pigs. I wonder how many people said, quit letting them give you medicine. They're just using you as a guinea pig. And they were like, oh, you're crazy. It's just a conspiracy. Until then all these years later, when some of them people are already dead and gone because they were the experiment, then the government, it ends up accidentally getting revealed, and the government has to admit that it was real and that they experimented on African American men with syphilis, and giving them the medicine or giving them placebo and watching to see how long it took for their brain to rot. That was in Alabama.
Yeah.
That was the government in Alabama that did that.
And as far as conspiracy goes, we even, I know you've shared it 1,000 times, in that Event 201 and on their economic forum plans, it always says that there will be people that call it conspiracies, and their plan is to, when those people rise up, to come at them and say they're conspiracies, to discredit.
In Event 201, they said we'll go on Facebook, social media, and we will start trying to censor it, and we'll start saying that this is fake. They had planned to do that in October before
2019.
the pandemic ever came out.
Yeah, just a few months.
Yeah, they already knew what they were going to do, and they already knew that people would come against it and what things that people would say. Oh, yeah, you're right, Jay. MK Ultra. There's a bunch of them little. There's a bunch. I mean, there's so much if you research history of where the government has been caught using people as guinea pigs, and there's not a doubt in my mind that this is what they've done again. I know that their plan on their agenda is to get the whole world vaccinated and to use it as a global and to use that to push a global ID. I know that. A lot of people believe because of the Georgia Guidestones. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's literally like Guidestones that were put up, I think in the 1980s or 1980, that says that all their world plans is to have a one world government to do this, and it was to depopulate the earth some, and they only wanted so many people, I can't remember the exact number, to be left on the earth. So, some people are saying, well, that a lot of this is to do with that this is their way of another thing to kill off people. But I don't know if that's exactly what they're doing. But I know this. I know that we've got to wake up and we've got to realize that the government is not trustworthy. I don't know how long we'll be able to even say that without getting in trouble.
Right.
The more things becomes dictators, like in Egypt, when I went to Egypt back in March of last year, they're not allowed to speak out against their government. They can't go on social media or on anything and say anything about their government. I thought that was mind-boggling to me, because they were like, we can't fuss about the government. And I'm sure America's going to get to that place to where we're not allowed to. But until that time, and then actually after that time, until they put me in jail, I guess, I'm going to just keep practicing.
And even then.
Yeah, I'm going to keep practicing freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And saying exactly what I want to say. But what they will do is they'll try to make it to where it don't spread. They'll try to get it to where less people see it, or they'll try to take it off or ban it or put you in Facebook jail or whatever. And, that's our job, guys, that we've got to find a way to spread the truth and get things out and go around them, trying to stop it. And, Romans 10:15, I guess we can end with that. It's talking about the gospel, but you can use it with anything. It says, how will they know unless someone tells them? And how will someone tell them unless it's talking about them, hearing the gospel of Jesus. But it says, but how will they know unless somebody tells them? And how will they believe unless they hear it? And it says, that's why it says, how beautiful are the feet of those that spread the gospel. Some people are not going to do research on their own. They're not going to know unless someone tells them.
Yeah.
And that leaves it up to us to warn people and to let people know of what's coming. And you may say, well, well, I know, they should know. Well, the fact of the matter is, even through the Old Testament, God always had people that sounded the alarm. He's always had people that were prophets and that warned people and awakened the people that were asleep and gave people a chance to repent. And so, guys, God still needs people to do that today. People that be glad that if you are awakened, be glad if you are one of the ones that are seeing what's going on and you've not been blinded or lulled to sleep. But remember that it very easily could have been you too. And so, they may not listen, but at least give them a chance to. At least give people a chance to hear the truth, share whatever info you can find, and share the truth, beg people to watch, beg people to look it up, take snapshots, go on these United Nations and World Bank and CDCs and World Health Organizations and stuff like those websites yourself and dig through their PDF files and read. And it takes time, but then snap pictures of what you read and circle them suckers and post them, because most people are not going to do it, but somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
Y'all have anything? You want to close out with say anything?
No.
Did you Google Fidel Castro?
I didn't. I Googled the NATO backwards word in Hebrew, and it's a particle of time, meaning after, soon, until, when, whenever. A lot of whenevers. And
Weird.
when.
What about NATO? Try NATO in Hebrew.
I'll do that after. But I guess that's it. What episode was this, Gage?
26.
You sure this time?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Because I'm pretty sure last time it was like 28.
No, it wasn't.
Okay, we're not sure what episode this is.
That thing hurts my ears.
But it was good to have you. We'll be here probably again next week, hopefully. Unless the Lord's come by then. So let's hope for that as well. Gage, you want to say anything?
Nope. We'll see you next time.
All right, bye, guys.